Well, if you don't mind, we'd like to dive right in. We would
Sure.
like to preface with a question. What is the primary reason that paid family leave should be mandated in the United States?
So there's two parts to that question. The first is what you mean by mandated. In my view, there are three kinds of policies that have to do with families,
Right.
or workers, maybe more generally. So there are things that I think of as employer mandates.
Mm-hmm.
These are minimum employment standards that every employer should be able to meet, and otherwise we don't really want them doing business in the United States. So if you can't pay your workers a wage of $7.25 an hour, which is our minimum wage, then what kind of job is this anyway? And I don't think it's appropriate for an industrialized country like the U.S. Another employer mandate would be a minimum number of paid sick days.
Yeah.
So 5 or 7. Any employer should be able to offer that, and we have a lot of research, not a lot, but we have some research now that shows that most workers won't use even 5 days in a year. But should they get the flu, or should their child become sick, or their husband or partner, they need to be able to take an occasional day because somebody woke up with a fever. So that's another employer mandate.
Yeah.
Paid family leave and your own paid medical. Like you have a heart attack, you have to go into the hospital, not that you have the flu and you're out for a day or two. Those, I believe, have to be treated as social insurance.
Okay.
So that's like unemployment insurance. We don't say to the steel industry, well, you guys lay people off pretty often, so why don't you just pay their salaries while they're not working? We think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Nobody would say that, right?
No.
And the same thing is true. Let's say you are a hospital. You have lots of young nurses, you have lots of nursing assistants, lots of techs who are young women who are likely to have children. If you said, when they take a maternity leave, you have to pay, that's just not going to work. They're not going to be able to afford it. So programs like paid medical leave, so the difference between paid sick days and paid medical leave is paid sick days is you got the flu or your child woke up with diarrhea or somebody's running a fever and you need a day or two to deal with it. Paid medical is things that last longer than a week.
Right.
So, it could be you were in an auto accident, it could be you had a heart attack, something serious has happened to you, or you're having a baby. Unfortunately, in this country, we look at having a baby as a disability, so there we have it. But anyway, that has to be treated the way we treat unemployment insurance. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a national insurance program similar to unemployment insurance. And in fact, in New Jersey, they don't call it paid family leave. They call it family leave insurance.
Okay.
And in Rhode Island, they call it caregiver leave insurance because the caregiver is going to take a leave for the family leave, right?
Yeah.
So just to emphasize that. So that's the first thing. Nobody is asking the employer to pay out of pocket for this whole thing.
Right.
And so it's a shared expense. Now, in the 3 states that have paid family leave, you won't believe how cheap it is to have 6 weeks of paid family leave. You just won't believe. Would you want to try to take a guess? Let's say you're a minimum wage worker. How much do you think you have to pay?
I really wouldn't know. I mean,
wouldn't even try to guess. It's about the same as a pack of chiclets. And if you're at the top of the income distribution, this is per week, and at the top of the income distribution in New Jersey, you are paying. You're paying just for the family leave piece of it. The medical is a little more expensive. You are paying the equivalent of 1 cup of Starbucks.
Wow.
So we are talking really low.
And that's
why we don't have it everywhere makes no sense.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. It's very cheap, and as a result, and in order to avoid the big battles with the employers, In those 3 states, family leave insurance or paid family leave is entirely employee paid. It is so cheap, and who wants to argue with them? We'll just pay for it and let us have it.
Yeah.
So the only part that affects the employer is the fact that you're going to be out. So let me tell you, if you had a baby, you're going to be out.
Yeah.
If you're in a car accident, you're going to be out. So what is it to the employer if you are able to collect insurance, partial wage replacement during that period of time?
Yeah.
So it's a mandate in a funny way, because it's not a mandate like the minimum wage or paid sick days. And I did tell you there was a third thing, of which it will not be important to you, but just so I close the circle on this. The third thing is things like K-12 education. We pay for it as a society out of our taxes. And that's because everybody benefits if everybody's children gets an education.
Right.
Okay, so that's a whole other kind of, that's just paid for out of general taxes.
Yeah.
Or in most places out of real estate taxes. But that's a whole other kind of work family policy or working family policy, really. So that's the first thing with respect to mandates. I hope that's clear.
Yes.
There's a sense in which family leave insurance is an employer mandate. They have to cooperate with it, but they're not paying for it. It's not a mandate in the sense that minimum wage or paid sick days is a mandate.
Right.
So that was the first part. What was the second part? What was your question again? Because I thought there were 2 parts.
Well, we were just wondering, in your opinion, what the primary reason that paid family leave would be beneficial.
Okay. So now there's the other side of it.
Yeah.
And that is that families desperately need it.
Right.
Families desperately need it. It provides partial wage replacement. It's a different amount in different places. The 2 I know best are California, because I studied it in New Jersey, because I was a professor at Rutgers University and worked on it in New Jersey. So in California, if you need a family leave, you get 55% of your weekly pay. The first week is unpaid, unless you have vacation time you can use. And starting in the second week, you get 55%. In New Jersey, you get 66%. So it's not your full pay. It may not be enough money. And I'll come back to California in a few minutes. There's a bill on Governor Jerry Brown's desk, waiting for him to sign it.
Oh,
that's
really?
going to fix. Because 55% of your pay, if you make $1,000 a week, maybe you can manage. But if you're making minimum wage, or you're making $400 a week, you can't live on $200.
Right.
So they're working on fixing that. But anyway, it's a percentage of your pay, and it's not enough to get rich on, but it does keep people off of welfare. That's number one. It allows you to pay at least your basic bills. You can put food on the table and pay your rent. Even if you can't keep up with everything. The third thing is, and this I know you're going to ask about later, but it keeps workers connected to their jobs. You don't have to quit your job because your kid was hit by a car. You can, you stay connected to the job that you have, and this is very important because the job market is like an escalator. So you're in a job and you're moving up along the escalator with your years of experience and getting more skills. You step off that escalator, you never step back on the same step that you stepped off of. You always start way lower down. So it has all kinds of implications for working people and for working families, for employees generally. And what we have found is, despite the huge outcry from the Chamber of Commerce, what I like to call organized business, the Chamber of Commerce, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the National Restaurant Association. I'm telling you, if they wanted to pass a law that said workers can breathe in the workplace, their response would be to oppose it. No one should tell an employer whether they should let their workers breathe in the workplace or not. The employer should make that decision based on what makes sense for them. So you have this tremendous pushback from business. However, once it passes, it turns out, and by the way, that pushback does frighten many employers. So you've never had paid family leave where you are, in your state. Oh my God, what does it mean? Every worker will take off for 6 weeks, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then when they've had a year or two of experience with it, when we come back and survey them, they all, not all, but the large majority answer, I support, or I am very supportive of this law.
Yeah.
It turns out that all their fears did not come to pass, and that workers did not abuse it. And so I'm not saying it's good for business. Obviously, if you're trying to run a business, you like every worker to be there every day. But that's not realistic. Everybody gets sick. Everybody has a child who gets sick. So I'm not saying business loves it. I'm just saying that they are supportive of it. So it's certainly not bad for business. The research we did in California, I don't know if you've gotten our book out of the library. If not, you should. Ruth Muckman and I wrote a book called Unfinished Business about paid family leave.
Oh, yeah. I read a little bit about that book, actually.
Okay. Well, you should pick it up or get your librarian to borrow a copy. Right. But in any case, what we discover is that businesses tell us that it does not, overwhelmingly, like 90% of businesses tell us, does not have a bad effect on profit, does not have a bad effect on productivity, does not have an effect on turnover, has a good effect on morale. So for business, it is largely a non-event. I don't want to exaggerate and say they love it and it was great for them, but it's basically a non-event. And for the workers, it's a huge, huge benefit. And really, I mean, we now, since the 1970s at least, and for black women and for working class women, they've been working forever. It's not like they could afford to stay home and live this middle class lifestyle where they got waited on by their husbands and ate bonbons and watched TV all day. But since the 1970s, that doesn't apply to anybody. Most women are working if they're of working age, and they work even when their children are quite young. So we need these policies so that women and men, fathers and mothers, children of elderly parents, adult children of elderly parents, can be responsible employees and responsible family members both. They should not have to make a choice between a paycheck and taking care of a sick parent or a sick child or themselves. And 6 weeks, I mean, I can't even go to Europe and talk about all the great progress we're making. They look at you like you're nuts. Okay, the minimum in the EU is 14 weeks, and most countries offer more than that. So, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever we have, it's ridiculous.
Right.
But in any case, it's really good for people, and it's not any problem for business. So we really should have it.
Yeah.
So our next question is, do you see paid family leave programs as beneficial to promoting gender equality in the workforce?
Yes, in two ways. So one is the more that you have men in the household doing child care and other household tasks like that, the more equal it is in the household, the easier it is for a woman to have the support of her partner when she goes to work, and that's hugely important. So more gender equality at home promotes more gender equality at work. And the second thing is that escalator story I just told you. If women can have continuous connection to their job and the labor market, then in fact their wages will rise. One of the biggest reasons, I mean, there are many reasons why women make less than men. I don't know if you saw, there's a brand new study just out, I think from Cornell, that shows that when women enter an occupation, the wages decline.
Oh, wow. What is that study?
And this is many, many different occupations. Ticket takers used to be all men, and now there are lots of women. The wages declined. And if men enter an occupation, the wages rise. So clearly, there are many parts to this story, and discrimination is one of them. But the other thing that we know is that one of the biggest things that prevents your wages from rising as you get older is if you have periods of absence from the workforce. Mm-hmm. This is one of the biggest negative effects. And so if women do not have paid leave, if the only way that they can take a leave is to quit their job, essentially, then we know for sure that they are not going to advance in the workplace. And in any situation, if the man is making way more than the woman, then if somebody has to leave their job, if somebody has to stay home with a sick child, if somebody has to take care of a sick parent, whether it's his or hers, the rational decision is that the woman quits her job and does it because the hit to the family income is less. Whereas if she has a continuous work history, her earnings will be much more comparable to his. They may not be as high, but they'll be much more comparable to his. And this is especially, well, you were asking me about gender equality, but you can see that this will be especially important for single moms. Mm-hmm. They need to have that continuous work history in order to have any chance of making a salary that they can support themselves and the children on. So for both those reasons, the greater equality within the home promotes greater equality in the workplace. He's way more supportive, and that her continuous attachment to the workforce is going to mean higher pay for her over her lifetime. So definitely, it does promote gender equality. One thing to notice is, especially in California, is that the longer that the paid family leave has been in place, the more and more men take off for bonding leave to bond with the new baby in that first year. Mm-hmm. And that we have, and that's bonding with the child is very important. This is not about gender equity, but this is very important for the child's development and for the relationship between the father and the child as the child grows older. It carries over way beyond that first year. Having changed that kid's diaper creates a bond that you can't get when it's only the mother changing the diaper, apparently. I don't understand it, but that seems to be how it works. So, and you didn't ask me this question, but let me say one other thing. Mm-hmm. Although we have many fewer weeks than they have in Europe, the design of paid family leave in the U.S., in my opinion, is superior. Because there's in Europe, like let's take a country like Sweden, where I don't know what you get. You get like 11 months, but if the father takes a month, then you get a 12th month. They have a daddy month.
Oh, okay.
So they can get the extra. They lose it if the father doesn't take it, and he can use it. Well, the family has the 12 months between them, but the father's going to take that one, and the mother's going to take the 11. Or whatever. I don't have that's not the exact numbers, but you get the idea. Here, we don't have so much time, but each parent gets 6 weeks. And by the way, in Sweden, only one parent can take it at a time. Here, each parent gets 6 weeks, and each parent can take it whenever they want. So what we've seen in California is that, and this is the younger fathers, if you already had children by the time this law went into effect and now you're having your second or third child, those men, their behavior doesn't change very much. Mm-hmm. But the young fathers, the ones who are having children after the law passed, they will typically take 2 weeks off when the baby is born to help the mother recover and help with the baby, and then they still have 4 weeks. The mother uses up every minute that she has. Yeah. She has the paid, in California, she has the paid maternity, then she gets the 6 weeks of paid family leave. By the time she goes back to work, she has nothing. If that baby gets sick, the father still has 4 weeks. If the babysitting arrangements fall apart, the father still has 4 weeks, and they save those weeks and use them up during the first year, taking care of the baby when the mother can't do it. So the point is, we have a situation in which there's much greater gender equity in the design of our paid family leave programs. Right. And our unpaid FMLA as well. But anyway, for the paid leave program. So this is a big advantage. Talking about gender equity, it's a different aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Fathers have the same rights as mothers, and nobody has to give up a month if the father doesn't take it. They can take it at the same time if that's what they want. If that mother needs help, the father can help. And if she's okay, he may stay with her for the first 2 weeks and then save his time to be with the baby when things fall apart, as they always
Right.
do. If you ever have a baby, you will find out how many things can fall apart.
Right. So you would agree that both males and females should be given equal access to the paid family leave?
That's
Yeah.
exactly right, and that's how it is in this country. All of the
Yeah.
states that have it, it's equal access.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So what are the most crucial ways in which California's paid family leave program and other programs that you studied, I think you said in New Jersey,
Yeah.
how do you think they can be improved upon and applied over more of the United States?
Right. So that's, again, a two-part question. But anyway, on the improved upon, California has always been a leader, and they're a leader with this as well. So one of the problems when these programs were first adopted in the three states is they followed the FMLA, the Unpaid Family and Medical Leave Act. Not on eligibility, because there are, only about 51% of American workers are covered by the FMLA.
Yeah.
The other 49% are not covered. But the paid leave programs cover you whether you're covered by the FMLA or not. Mm-hmm. However, they have the same criteria. So you can take off to take care of a sick child, to take care of a sick spouse, to take care of a sick domestic partner, to take care of a sick parent. Mm-hmm. But if you think about what families look like today, they don't allow you to take off for an adult child, for example. Only a child, under the age of 18. Mm-hmm. So if you got sick at 19, your mother couldn't take off for you. It's like, no, you're not all grown up at 19, and you might be 35 and have a heart attack, and you want your parents around.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing is to recognize that we need to be able to take care of our adult children. The other is to notice all different kinds of families. There are children being raised by their grandparents, or children being raised by an aunt.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem if they are. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. You have to be able to take care of for stepchildren who are living with you. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have blended families of all kinds. We have so many different kinds of families.
So adopted and foster children too.
Well, those are covered. Those are covered by the FMLA. So yes, you if you adopt a child or a foster child, you can use paid family leave in any one of these states for 6 weeks to bond with that child.
Got it.
So we do cover that.
Yeah.
But we don't cover taking care of your grandmother. Mm-hmm. We don't cover, I grew up with a step-grandmother. Mm-hmm. Other people, my daughter has a stepson. Yeah. His mother could take off, but my daughter is raising him. It's like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it does not.
So one thing that has to be improved or could be improved is to have a definition of family mm-hmm. that more closely meets what a modern family is like. We have so many variations. It mm-hmm. has to be broad enough. So that's the first thing. And I will tell you that California already passed a law that broadens the definition of family.
Oh,
and it's not true in New Jersey, and it's not true in Rhode Island, and it's not true in the national legislation that's being proposed, but it is true in California. And then the second way that it has to be improved is that, as we pointed out, it's one thing if you are making a good living and you have to live on 55% or 66% for a couple of weeks. You probably have savings. You probably have a way to manage. But if you're a low-paid worker, mm-hmm. living paycheck to paycheck, you can't do it on 55 or 66%.
Yeah.
So what California the legislature has passed, they're waiting for the governor to sign, I certainly hope he will sign, is a sort of a graded thing. If you're a very low-wage worker, you would get 90%. Mm-hmm. If you're a little bit better paid, you would get 75%. Oh. And then if you're much better paid, it would go down to 55%.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that people can actually live on it. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is that these are insurance programs, and mm-hmm. they don't provide, well, Rhode Island's the exception. I'll come back in a second. But New Jersey and California, these are insurance programs, and they don't provide job protection. Yeah. Meaning you can take the leave, but if you're not covered by the FMLA, so the FMLA gives you job protection. No mm-hmm. money, but job protection. Paid leave gives you money, but no job protection. So if you're covered by the FMLA and you take a paid leave, then you have job protection. But for 49% of workers in America, they're not covered by the FMLA.
Mm-hmm.
So what the third improvement that we need is that if you are out on a family leave, you need to have job protection. You need to have a job to come back to.
Yeah.
So let me say a word about Rhode Island. Rhode Island is different in this regard from the other two states. They negotiated to have job protection during the leave. As I told you, the business community is always fighting you. So then you have to give up something. And what they gave up is their family leave is only 4 weeks.
Oh.
So the deal was, okay, we'll take 4 weeks of paid family leave, but the 4 weeks come with job protection. You can't be fired during those 4 weeks.
Do you think that's a valuable trade-off?
Oh, it's a horrible situation. We should all have 12 weeks of paid family leave and job protection while we have it. But that does not seem to be on the horizon.
Yeah.
And then nationally, I think that there is national legislation. It's called the Family Act. It was introduced by New York Senator Gillibrand, and in the House, I think by either Nancy Pelosi or Rosa DeLauro. One of those two introduced it. It now has 60 or 70, I don't know, maybe less than that, 40 or 50 co-signers. And it would be a huge improvement. It would bring. You have to Google it and find out what's in it.
Yeah.
But how many weeks it would be, who would be covered, how much it would pay. There is national legislation. By the way, 2 websites that you need to go to where you can find all the information you would ever want.
Yeah.
One is the National Partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just Google National Partnership and it'll tell you the website.
Okay.
And the other is Family Values at Work.
Okay.
So Family Values at Work is a consortium of state groups all working on different kinds of work-family policy. And I was at Rutgers University in New Jersey directing the Center for Women at Work. Well, the Center for Women at Work is still part of Family Values at Work. I'm just not part of it anymore. But it's a consortium, and they help, the states help each other figure out how to run campaigns and what to do and put out materials and so on. But you'll find all kinds of materials on the websites for those two, including everything in the fact sheets on the Family Act. So you can easily find out what's in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have national legislation that has been proposed, and here's hoping that we get it.
Right, yeah.
So do you see any major state or federal laws being passed in the near future for paid family leave?
We have many states that are working on it. Colorado is working on it. Massachusetts is working on it. New York is very close. Maryland is working on it. And there is a group in Pennsylvania that's working on it, which if you're interested, I can send you the link.
We're really interested.
Somebody that you can email.
Yes,
So I will do. Her name is Marianne Bella Sorte, and she's with Pennsylvania Pathways. But anyway, I will email that to you as soon as we hang up.
Yeah.
And I know she'd be happy to hear from you, and you can tell her about your project. And I heard you were making a website. Is that right?
We are making a website, yes.
Okay, that's great. Wonderful skills you're developing. But in the meantime, if you let her know that, perhaps there's some way that whatever you do can actually have real value in the world.
Oh, good. Yeah, we're looking to do that.
Yeah, that would be good. So, okay, so now, there are many state initiatives. So the thing to know about the 3 states that have it, so we have 5 states plus Puerto Rico, but 5 states that have paid medical leave. If you yourself get sick or you are in an automobile accident, you can draw partial wage replacement while you are recovering. And these are the 5 states. They are New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, California, and Hawaii.
Okay.
They already have the paid medical part of the FMLA, and they have had it since the 1940s. And guess what? No business has gone out of business because of it. It's been around for all these years, and there is no demand from business. Get rid of it. It's making our lives miserable. So we've had it for more than half a century without problems. Okay, so what you can see is that the 3 states that have paid family leave are states that already had the paid medical.
Right.
So this is like an add-on program. We already have the bureaucracy in place, let's call it bureaucracy. We already have the administration in place to do it.
Yeah.
It's already tracking people for the medical. It's not that hard to track them for the family leave.
Yeah.
And so I should have said Hawaii as well. New York and Hawaii are working very hard because they are so similar to the other 3 states, it should be possible to have it there as well. The states that have to figure out how to do it, I should tell you, Washington State passed it, but without a funding mechanism, so it didn't actually happen. So Washington State has to figure out how they're going to fund it and what they're going to set up. That's the situation in Colorado, Maryland, Pennsylvania. These states have the challenge of having to set up a paid leave program when you don't already have a state-run paid leave program of any kind. So that's the challenge for them. But those states are definitely moving forward, and there's national legislation that I hope will move forward.
So do you think if the U.S. modeled a program after, let's say, what countries in Europe are doing, do you think that would hurt the American economy or change it in a substantial way?
No. In the year 2000, which is now getting further and further away, you probably weren't born yet, but anyway, back in the year 2000, I had the best funded project I've ever had in my life.
Right.
The question was, how do companies in those countries have all those genders? I mean, it's not just family leave, right? They have parental leave and maternity leave and your own sick leave, and your kid gets sick, you can take off for months if, God forbid, you have a kid who's sick who's that sick. Obviously, you hardly anybody uses it that way, but you could if you had to. How is it they have these policies and they still manage to make a profit? That was our question. How do capitalists survive?
Yeah.
And it turned out it wasn't a problem. It just wasn't a problem.
Right.
They make a great profit, right? IKEA makes lots of money in Sweden. We visited, let me think if I can remember at this point. We visited Italy, Germany, Japan, Australia, and I think it was Sweden. To talk to then we talked to employers. We talked to employers associations. We talked to unions, and it's just built in. I don't know. Have you seen Michael Moore's new movie, Who to Invade Next?
No, I've not.
So, no.
Okay, for this project, you have to go see it.
Okay,
And you have to go see when he... So do you know what he's doing? He's invading these countries and bringing back their best ideas.
What is it called?
And when he invades Italy, Italy is the one that will directly answer your question. I mean, they interview employers. Nobody can understand the American mindset.
Yeah.
It's like, what century did this come out of? So, I don't believe that it will have a bad effect on U.S. business.
Yeah.
Every other country in the world manages to have much more generous paid leave policies. I mean, we're the only country that doesn't mandate paid vacation. CEPR puts out a publication where I work here called No Vacation Nation. It's an oldie but goodie. Every time it hits the summer, the press picks it up again. I mean, what is this? So we live in a country with no vacation, whereas most European countries have 5 or 6 weeks of vacation. And in countries like Sweden and Germany, you have to take 3 of those weeks consecutively. Because in the first week, you're still obsessing about business. In the second week, you're finally relaxing. And the third week is when you finally renew yourself. So you can come back to work, ready to go again. So you get 6 weeks paid vacation, 3 of which you have to take consecutively for your mental health, which they think makes you a much better worker when you're there. Americans work way more hours per year than any other industrialized country.
With no seeming benefit. With no seeming economic benefit?
No, I'm talking about total number of hours per year that we work.
Yeah.
There's no other industrialized country that comes close.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't have paid vacations, and if you do, maybe you're lucky to get 2 weeks. We sure don't have people getting 6 weeks of paid vacation.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of businesses in Europe have a 7-hour day.
Yeah.
So we don't have anything. We have a 40-hour week if you're lucky. They have 35-hour weeks.
Yeah.
They have a way more paid holidays.
Yeah.
So when you put all of this together, they work many fewer hours over the course of a year than Americans do.
Yeah.
So that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well,
we like to say that they don't make as much money as we do.
Mm-hmm.
But if a country is very productive, you can take that productivity either in more dollars or in more leisure.
Right.
And the European countries have opted for more leisure.
Yeah. That's a very valid debate.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. So you have to be careful when you make comparisons.
Yeah.
Because what you want to look at is their productivity, not their GDP per person or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, any other questions?
No, that actually concludes our questions.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with this, and I'm going to make an introduction for you to Marianne Bellasort in just a minute.
Yeah, we would love that.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, my pleasure. Take care.
Okay,
You
bye.
too.
Send me the link to the website if you can.
We will. We'll be in contact.